So again, for people listening, this is Grandma Ness. She is a, well, we could say she's an author, and she does have this book. It's Bernie and Babs versus the Virus, The Adventures in Healing. So definitely check out that book, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, your local bookstores. I'm sure they can order it. Again,
Everywhere.
Grandma Ness, we really appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
And it should be a fun conversation. Before you even came on, well, I should say before we went live, we had a great conversation going, talking about everything in the kitchen sink, but we won't bore the viewers with that. We'll move into the interview again. Grandma Ness here on Fire Breathing Rob. It is www.grandmaness.com, and the book is Bernie and Babs versus the Virus. Definitely check it out at your local bookstores in general. So, Grandma Ness, tell the viewers a little bit about you in general.
Well, the thing that has defined what I'm doing now is
Mhm.
twofold. When my children were younger, I believed that the little white blood cells were bugs. And I could explain it to my kids as if they were bugs. And so when they would get ill or cold would go around, I'd say, well, send your bugs out. And they'd send their bugs out and they hardly ever got sick. And so I thought, oh, eventually I'm going to put this together. And I'm an artist by trade. And so putting together a children's book was, ah, it was something that was reasonable. And because healing yourself with a visual is a complicated topic that people think is really woo woo, um, you have to make it as simple as possible without making it so simple that it's not effective. And so this takes what I learned when I cured myself from my own lupus in my late 30s, which you should not get disabled at that point in time in your life at all.
I hear you.
And the reason I found out that these visuals really worked is I like impressionist artists, and my husband took me to the Denver Art Museum because we were in Denver at the time, and we saw the impressionist show. And I could move about 30 minutes a day, and that part was in pain. I get through and I start looking, and I notice that there's open pieces of canvas where they didn't put any paint at all in some of
Mm.
these pictures, and in some of them it is all smoothed out to where the front of it is just slick, totally slick, and it's got all these different little color variations in it. I'm going through and get back to the car, and the thing that happens to somebody who is ill with a partner who's taking care of them is you say, well, how do you feel? I had to stop for a second because I didn't feel bad. And then we looked at the time and it had been 3.5 hours and I didn't feel bad. And this was just totally unheard of. This is the power of visualization. This is the power of images in helping us heal. So I worked it out. I came off the medications, which I probably shouldn't have done. I don't recommend it to anybody. It was painful. And I checked my diet and I started doing regular visualization on the process of my healing, on the process of things getting better, almost like a hero story every time. When I got better, I was able to do everything again. Everything I had lost, I got back. Then I decided, okay, now it's time. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to paint these pictures. I'm going to write this story. And the first one in the series, because I'm going to be doing many different ways, I just have to research each one so the process is accurate. So the fix is accurate. And so we're using the latest in technology because of Babs the Bot Queen. So Bernie and Babs, Bernie is a white blood cell. Babs is a T cell. And Bernie goes in and he smashes the baddies over the head with a magic hammer. He puts them in a bucket and he takes them to waste disposal and they exit the body. Babs, who is a STEM engineer, she comes in like a nanobot and she fixes the DNA and reprograms it. So any weaknesses are no longer weaknesses in the body. The body has fixed them. The defenses have been built. And then they have a wonderful party because the virus is gone. And it's a charming, simple, visual, I'm a very visual person, way of doing it. If you're going to a doctor, you expect somebody that's got all this scientific information and Yeah, I can research until I get a visual. That's what I want. I'm an artist. And so I'm presenting visualizations as an artist would instead of as a doctor would. Now, I'm working on Bernie and Babs versus allergies right now, seeing as how we now have Bernie and Babs versus the virus, which got stuck at the publisher for a year in the middle of the pandemic, of course. And so now we're just taking it around and doing Comic Cons and talking to people about it, because teaching children as young as 4 how to visualize their own healing all the way up to 99 to me is important.
I agree 100%. And as we keep going into the interview, and as obviously you can see it on the screen, Bernie and Babs versus the virus. Definitely check it out. I do want to go into some questions before we go into some audience questions, but let's talk a little bit more about your journey as far as through lupus in general. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that?
Well, it took about 5 years to get a diagnosis that was accurate. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I was a single mother. I had an extremely litigious ex-husband, and I was working full time, taking care of a house and 2 kids and parents and trying to make life work. And it wears down on you, and the
Yeah.
stress overcomes your system, and then you get into the medical association. In the medical association, oh well, we're going to try this with these side effects, and then we're going to try this. And I was on 19 different antidepressant medications over and over, and I kept going back and saying, this isn't working. They say, well, you seem a little unstable right now. And it's like, yeah, you put me on this medicine that has made me into a totally unstable human being. I mean, artist personality aside, there is
Yeah.
unstableness that can happen with that. The way that we, fell on top of that is just amazing. It was that trip to the museum, and at that point, I was taking 28 pills a day. I was going twice a week for IV treatments. I was doing at-home B shots in my leg just to maintain being sick. And I was frustrated, and I was scared and desperate. I don't know anybody who is dealing with any kind of chronic illness and today's medical establishment that isn't at some point almost frustrated to tears. And there are some natural ways, there are some simple ways of getting to results. And it's not to say that doctors aren't useful. I don't know enough to say that a doctor is doing good or a doctor isn't doing good. I know whether I'm getting better or whether I'm not. And when I started bringing in visuals, it started off with just looking at art.
Mhm.
And I would do it 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. For some reason, this gives you the same kind of feeling as an artist when they are fully immersed in the creation process. You lose all track of time. You are no longer in this analytical, who needs what, how do the numbers add up, where's the time going world. It disappears. I think how your left brain is also the brain that turns on your natural healing switch and causes your body to heal itself. Once you get out of that brain, it's like, oh, I can actually do my job now. This is kind of cool. So even if it's just for a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening, it doesn't take long. Amazing things can happen from it. And then if you add your own intent and your own visual to it, you have a recipe for things fixing themselves. And I don't know if it works for everybody. You know what I know? I can do anything I want. I was able to completely quit smoking, and I'm now losing weight from that process. I am able to go out and run if I want. I'm 53 years old and I feel fabulous.
Mm.
And I'm doing what I want to do with my life. And what could be better?
Yeah. Well, it's great to hear that you're finally getting back on your feet. It is a tragic story, and we talked about earlier off air that These SSRIs are terrible for people in general. We won't get too deep into that, but it's just really not good for most of the people that take it. There are some people, I will say, that maybe benefit, taking these medications, but for the most part, it's not good for most people. I do
And you
want to
got to
keep,
listen to a patient. I mean,
yeah,
listen to the person who isn't feeling good and they're so used to just, oh, well, we're just giving you an antidepressant, or oh, well, I mean, they don't have anything you can do but follow their directions. Now, this is what you're supposed to be doing, visualizing your own healing, taking the time to give that left brain a chance. That's your job. And so we need to be doing that. We need to let people know you're supposed to be doing this. And it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg. If you're going through that medical stuff, you already know you're probably about bankrupt doing it anyway.
correct. So let's go on to the last three questions. Before we get into the audience question, let's just go back to the book, Bernie and Babs versus the Virus. Definitely check it out for people that are listening. So with that going on, as far as we moving to the audience questions after this last question about the book, Grandma, what do you hope people get out of this book? And I do commend you that you're trying to donate this book to every hospital in the country. I want to tell people that this is a good thing, and we should get these kids these books because it's a story that parents, nurses, doctors, whoever may help these kids can read to them and help them if they're very sick, or even if they're not extremely sick, help them get through this tragic time in their life. So just talk to the viewers a little bit about what you hope rather these the listeners, the viewers get out of this book.
I hope that they are able to develop their own self-care routine using effective visuals, positive statements, and your body's own natural healing process. Now, as far as getting the books to hospitals, yeah, because I'm a person. I want the sick kids to have this information first. I want them to get this great visual that they can start using now and give them some empowerment. As soon as you tell somebody, well, this is what you can do, then you give them the chance to take that and to grow with it and to make it their own. And we've already given away 2 hospitals where the books. It's a little bit longer of a process than I thought it was going to be. You have to get a hold of the charitable organization that is deciding what can and cannot be donated to the hospitals. And with all the COVID protocols, you go in, you have to be masked up until you hit that 2-minute sweet spot where you can take the video. Up on www.grandmaness.com, we have the video of the giveaways that we've done. And Seed to Cure is the nonprofit that will be able to take donations under so people can get credit for their businesses and taxes and what have you next month. And then you can donate books and we will find a way to get them there. You can choose where you want to get them. And if you are working in the medical industry at all, contact me. Get on that website, contact me, tell me I can get them through to you, and we're going to get you some books right away because I have 14 right now that are waiting for the next place to go. And I would love them to go to the kids that you're working with. So yeah, by all means, tell me. But the information for the donation is all there on www.grandmaness, Ness, short for Anessa. That's what my grandkids call me, .com.
Again, for people listening, grandmaness.com. Definitely check out the books. Let's move into the audience questions. We were talking earlier, spoke about the 3 things stronger than our fear and pain. Can you talk to the viewers about that as we wind down the interview?
Our will, our belief, and the functions of our body that we don't even know are there yet. You really got to start messing with it. It's free. It's yours already. Somebody just needs to tell you how to access it. And those are the things that are stronger than fear and pain because they empower you. They tell you this is something that you can do. This is your job.
Let's talk about this as we end the interview, the 5 steps for effective visualization, visualized rather healing for children. If you
Mhm.
could tell the viewers that for the people that are adults listening that do have children, maybe their grandmas or it's their children in general.
Absolutely. Now these are also done on the VIP mail list. You're going to get all of this good information first, and I'm giving it all for free. If you're on the mail list twice a month, you're going to find out all this good information. Now, the 5 things, I call them the 5 sames. The same time, the same duration, the same visual, and you should let it go about 1 month before you change it up to the next stage. The same physical place that you're going to be. And these are all triggers to your brain that say, this is the time I'm going to get to be working on me. This is my self-care time. And eventually it'll start getting there quicker. And then the last one is the same intent. And an intent statement is really important. My intent statement with lupus, because it's an autoimmune condition, my cells weren't talking to each other. And so I would imagine this great big UN summit, and they would get up and they would talk, and all the headphones were on and people were getting all the translations, and the speeches were so well prepared that they couldn't be misunderstood. And the more that my cells were in that situation of not being able to be misunderstood, I started communicating and I got better. Amazing.
Right. And this is again the news that people want to hear. And I really thank you for your time. Again, grandmaness.com.
Thank
Definitely check it out. And definitely, if you can, go and get that book, Bernie and Babs versus the Virus, Adventures in Healing. And like I said, you can go to the website, get the book. You can go to the website and learn more about Grandma Ness. Grandma Ness, thanks so much for your time. Greatly appreciate you today.
Thank you, Rob. You have a great time and happy healing, everyone.